Hello, everybody. My name is Rodney Veal, and welcome to the Rodney Veal's Inspired by podcast. I get the immense joy of getting to sit with a just incredible presence and talent, um, a poet, writer, educator, just all around super amazing human being, Aimee Noel. So, Aimee, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Rodney. It's great to be here.
That's super
Appreciate it.
awesome. Oh, total love, total love, total love. This is you will be our second poet on the podcast after Sierra Leone, and so it's like pretty good company, I would say.
I would say.
Very
I
good,
would
good
say.
company. But we've known each other. I dare not put a years on having known each other, but we've known each other for a while, and just always a delight to be in social settings. But now we get to talk about your art making and your mastery of words, and this podcast is always about going in a hot tub time machine back to the beginning, which leads
Sure.
us up to today, because actually your collection of poems and a book are the thing we're
Nice.
probably finished with. So let's go back in that hot tub time machine to the beginning. I'm just really curious about words and language as being your creative outlet as a child. Was that the original intention, or was it some other pathway?
It's so interesting because I'm surrounded by people, and I know Sierra is certainly one who journaled or had a love of language so early. And for me, it didn't develop until later. I came upon poetry accidentally,
Oh,
um, and so I was well into college before I even took a poetry class, and then I was well into my 30s before I even started writing something. So I, I enjoyed literature, definitely. I had a creative
mhm.
writing class in high school. A teacher stayed after school, which was so amazing, to spend her time with us. But, you know, I wasn't really I wasn't really compelled to write. And so because I didn't have that pull, I thought, well, this is not something that's for me because,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
artists talk about, being compelled. And I'm like, well, I don't quite have that. So maybe that's not my avenue. So I came upon it accidentally, actually.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. No, I love this accidental, because I'm in shock of that for the very reason that's how I stumbled into dance. It was by accident. This was not an early on love of life. So I'm like, oh, okay, Aimee, we
And
have
aren't
something.
we lucky to have
I
found it because you're so
absolutely.
good at it?
Oh, well, thank you. I really do. Well, the thing is, that's what I would say. Like, I'm so glad you found language and words. That's the whole thing. I always think about that. Because when you're young, you have dreams and ambitions. Because I wanted to be a zoologist when I was a kid. It's like those typical things. And like,
Yep.
how did it did it
Yeah.
shock people? What were they thinking that you were going to do?
Right.
You
Right.
you state the intentions in high school. I'm just kind of curious.
Right. So, well, very much like you, I thought I'd be a marine biologist. I'd go, swim with the whales, and all of, I was just gonna. That's what I was gonna do. And then I took chemistry, and I got a C, and I'd never gotten a C before. So I'm like, well, I'm not doing this. I didn't think, oh, work harder or take a class again. I
You're like,
just switched my major to English, and I became a teacher. um, so I was immersed in words and literature, certainly, and I brought my students to that.
okay.
And then I had a professor. I don't know. Do you know Adrienne Cassel? Did you know Adrienne Cassel? She was a
What does that
poet.
name sound? That sounds
Yeah,
very familiar.
she
Yes.
taught at Sinclair, and
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So we were teachers have to get certified, so we have to have hours, of professional development. And I took a class at Wright State, And there were so many of us in the fiction section of the class. It was just a free class I was taking for my hours. They came into our lecture hall and said, "Can some of you move to the poetry section? We need to balance out the classes." And I said, "Well, I'm just here for the hours anyway. I don't write. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just getting my certification." So I went into the poetry group, and that's how I started writing. I had a professor, Dr. Adrienne Cassel, and she said, you know, there's something there. It just felt like a natural
Wow.
expression. And maybe it was like that for you with dance. It just, once I did it, it just felt like a natural expression. And
It
I was
just
hooked.
seemed, it just, yeah, it felt easy. It
Yes.
just felt, it was like, I don't know. Did you feel like it was like, oh, okay. But there was no like, there's no like angst behind the decision to say, okay, to
Okay.
this creative pathway and this kind
That's
of
right.
expressive pathway. And I love the fact that it's always someone else that just kind of like, did you not know
Right.
that you were built for this? I'm like,
Right.
and you just took like you just take it calmly.
Yeah.
And it's
It,
oh,
yeah.
what was it about her teaching in her class? I mean, it just kind of where it just I mean, some people are just alchemists at being kind of
Yes.
stirring the pot, but
Yes.
what kind of pulled you in? What was the one that finally did it? It was a
She
moment.
she took us to she took the class. We all met up at Barnes and Noble, and she said, "Just go find a book. Just go find any poetry book, and just peruse." And she found me in the stacks, and she said, "Have you found something?" And I said, "Well, I found this book." It was Denise Duhamel, and I said, "But it's got plastic on it, and so I can't, like, the back sounds cool, but I can't read it." And Adrienne ripped the plastic off, and I mean, I audibly gasped. So I went, like, "Can you do that?" And that's what Adrienne was about. She was about ripping the plastic off. Like, it just didn't matter.
What a great
And
metaphor.
so she just opened.
So you will look at this.
That's right. That's right. You can do any. You take the risks, destroy some things along the way, and look at the words. And that's how she was. She was constantly pushing. She didn't know that there were boundaries, and so she taught me that there aren't boundaries in
Wow.
poetry. You can just, there are no boundaries. It's great. So that
I
was what she did for me.
Oh, it's always, I always look back at Harriet Weymouth Payne, who got me moving in a,
Yeah.
in a modern way. And you think about that, you think about those influences, you think about like just it's just like now it's game on. Like and
Yeah.
like were you consumed once you realized there were no boundaries, then it was like, whoa, you just
Yes.
you turn into like a ravenous little
That's
monster.
right. Give me more, give me more. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it was the first of many classes. And then I continued on to get my MFA. And that was something I think I needed. I think because I'd come to
Wow.
it so late in my life, because I hadn't had that background that many writers had. I just felt like if I'm going to take myself seriously, if I'm going to take this seriously, I need to study craft, and I need to work with people who have been there. And so I went to Lesley University in Cambridge, Mass, and got my MFA. And so I just feel lucky to have had that opportunity. I think think of how many creatives are walking around and we don't know it because they're grinding. Like, they have to work,
Mhm.
like
No,
work two
just
jobs or whatever.
mhm.
And so, to have that opportunity to self actualization, I just feel really lucky.
Oh, I love that. And I love how you talked about that grind because I was thinking about it. I did an interview with for the broadcast of the art show, Michael Kopich, and he talked about it's like, folks, you gotta you gotta get
Mhm.
in there. Once you've been established that this is the place you need to be, you just got to get in there and just work and just get in there and
Mhm.
just bring everything to the table versus just saying you're going to be the artist or the poet. You gotta get some grind in there. And I'm just kind of curious: is that do you think starting late in many ways was a blessing to to your approach to the creative process? Because I can imagine if I were doing this when I was like a teenager, I would have burned out. I would have just said, "Yeah, we're done. We're done."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I have a sense of, I'm not, let's say, like, I'm not old, let's say that. Um,
No, no.
Old, but being older, there's a sense of like, I've got, I got some time to make up here. And so I don't take it, I don't think I take it for granted. So like, I think there's a side benefit to coming to it late, is that I'm not going to stop. And then I also am in a part of my life where I am lucky to be able to pursue it. I think you and I had talked briefly about, like, I'm not trying to win the Pulitzer here. I just get to tell some stories, amplify some voices, bring some readers to situations they may not know about.
Hmm.
And I'm lucky to be able to do that and know that, time is precious. So keep doing it while I can. So,
No, I love that. We had that conversation, and it's and I think about that because I think I saw the region of the country that you grew up in a different light through your writing and through your
thank
poetry.
you.
And it's like, and I
Thank
was
you.
like, oh, okay, all right. You're taking me on this. It was. And I reread your book Slack, and so we're going to talk about that later. But I just when I reread it, I just realized that it was like it felt. I can always tell if I'm reading something that I can visualize the places and I get with
Mhm.
the sensations of space
Mhm.
because I'm movement based and I could see the doctor's office with the TB, like with
Yeah.
the diagnosis of TB. These poems are not your. They just seem grounded in a different sort of language that people aren't usually accustomed to and seeing in this kind of arena. And it just was vivid. And I
Thank
was
you.
like, oh, come on. I was, because once you visualize, and that's what typical dancers do. So I'm just kind of curious about the upbringing at Lake Erie, like in that
Right.
area. Like,
Right.
I mean, but you weren't journaling as a kid. This is all sensory, sort of like, you must have been
Yeah.
just an observer.
I think maybe that's what it is. And I go home often, right? So I think you're very astute, and I appreciate that comment about the language. It has the diction. I feel has a gritty sense of the space to it, and
Hmm.
a lot of metal,
Hmm.
and that just came from being in the space. I often would go home. My mom, had still lived in the same house that I grew up in, so I was there often. And the husks of those factories are still there, and
Mm.
so you still get a sense of the place. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, maybe I was an observer. I like that. That was probably what was going on. Yes,
Oh my gosh! So
yes,
that's why that's why I couldn't wait to have this conversation. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm like, as I was reading, as I was going through, I'm like, what a keen observation
hmm
that that and I'm using the wrong language for this. It's not minimal. It is you have economy of maximized language, if that makes
thank you.
sense.
Yeah,
It's just a
thank
thing.
you.
So it just say I fanboy out. I pay attention. Oh my god,
I really
I
appreciate
totally.
that.
It was well, no, it's funny because I think that's important. I mean, I think you
Yeah,
needed to know. You need to know that you,
right.
yeah, this is it hit. It hit on all pistons. It hits on
Thank
all
you.
pistons.
And when you're
Uh,
talking about those type of characters, you're not gonna I always warn people, like, this book is not, fuzzy bunnies and rainbows. It's because you're talking about specific people
Mhm.
in a specific setting. And so, to use elevated, flowery language is not going to pull out a sense of what I'm trying to reveal about the workers or the people or the lake or the environment or,
Mm.
the situations. So yeah, thank you.
No. I mean, the fact that well, and I do encourage everyone, go find the book, obtain it, because I think it would surprise. I think that it'll be surprising to them because we usually associate that sort of poetry as something that just seems foreign and alien, but this didn't feel foreign and alien. This felt so more familiar. And I mean, I just kind of curious, like, who are your influences as far as writing poetry are,
Mm-hmm.
and in that sense, because, and I want people to hear it, so then they go look. I
Right.
want people to go on the journey with you, versus,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, it's interesting you say that because there weren't a lot of working class poets who were women. So it was
One.
really hard to find. I felt like there was a void, um, a different perspective that needed to be, you know, heard from. And so Philip Levine is one of the very most famous working class poets. I read a lot of Michelle T, who is very gritty. But in terms of women who were talking about this, you know, this type, when I was going through school, we didn't
No.
hit upon that. And so that might be also what people will find why they might find it surprising is because I think even the subject matter and
Mm.
even that it's written by a woman
Mhm.
might hit differently too. So it was more of I'm going to create the book I didn't get to read.
Wow. You really
Yeah.
did well, and I think that's. I feel like that seems to be the kind of modus operandi of everybody who makes.
Mhm.
They're trying to either create the book that they didn't see as a child, or they want to create the movement that they didn't see expressed on the stage, or the thoughts or ideas, or
Yeah.
I want to act in this way because I don't see it portrayed. It's like, and it was really funny because just recent I was realized we've done well over 50 of these podcasts, and it's just been like, oh my golly goodness, about I was going to use another word, but I was like, I don't want to get bleeped out by Mike. Like, of how many different pathways there are into the creative process.
Right.
And I think one of the things that I find really fascinating is the fact that it did happen later. It wasn't one of those, oh, I was 5 years old and I discovered words. It was like
Right.
you're fully formed in the sense, but
Mhm.
this it needed to be you needed to be who you were at that moment for this to take hold and take effect.
Mhm.
And I wrote something the other day about it, like, it's like seeing the tumblers on a lock in our DNA kind of all click into place.
Mhm.
And that's where the sweet spot is for creativity. And
Right.
like when those tumblers fell into place for you, it was like, now,
Yes.
I mean, we're talking, there's a gap of time between being in school and now. I
Mhm.
mean, we don't put ages, we don't put dates on our ages here, but there was a gap of time between my grad school and current, so that puts me at about 20 years since grad school, and I was in my 40s.
Yeah.
Yikes! So no,
Yeah.
that's food for thought.
We won't
Um,
do the math.
we won't do the math on that one. Just suffice it to say, there's a gap of time,
Right. Right.
but I think that exploration was rich because it was in my 40s
That's
versus
right.
any type of exploration like this deep dive in my early 20s, like in
Mhm.
late teens, early 20s. I think it just makes more sense. And I just seem to gravitate towards people that are kind of in that sweet spot. So I'm just kind of curious about with when because you're writing and you're doing the thing, but you're also still teaching, correct? I mean,
I am.
where are you teaching at?
So I teach at Tip City,
Okay.
and I started a literary journal with my dear friend Erin Hill. We started a literary journal on campus. So that's been a nice incentive for the kids to get their voices out there too. So we have the Inferno, which is a campus-wide literary journal, and we've won national awards with that. And kids get to see the process of publishing and putting out a book and the marketing that it takes. And so yes, so I'm doing that as well. And so not a lot of writing happens during the school year because I'm helping them find their voice as well. So yeah, so that's definitely a difficult balance. But I get to work with the kids. I get to bring in other creatives to talk to them, which is really neat. We've had Teja came in.
Tasia Cartwright,
Yeah, from Lore to help them tell their stories, and it's been great. So, but not a lot of writing happens during the school year.
I'm Bonnie Miles, Membership Coordinator of CET. Thank you for listening to Rodney Veal's Inspired By. This podcast is a production of CET and Think TV, 2 local PBS stations. As PBS stations, the work we do online, on air, and in the community is supported by listeners like you. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support our work, please consider becoming a member at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Plus, when you sign up to donate at least $5 a month, you'll get access to special members-only streaming videos on the PBS app through Passport. Learn more at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org.
If you're enjoying this conversation, The Art Show, also hosted by Rodney Veal, is available to stream anytime from anywhere on YouTube or the PBS app.
It was so funny. There are a couple of visual artists that I really love, and Wendy Wagner Harris. She's a collagist, and she's a school teacher. So she kind of buys her time for that when the school year's over, and all of a sudden she just jumps right in. I mean, is that what happens with you? They're just like, I can't wait till summer. Summer's coming. Summer's coming.
Yes. And so it is hard to compartmentalize. Like if I'm doing my job well, my attention goes to them and my encouragement goes to them. And what we're reading is what I'm reading or kind of, taking in as content is often whatever I'm doing in class. So I'm looking forward to retirement, which is coming soon. So,
are you serious?
Yes.
Well, you're not that.
You heard it here, folks.
You heard it here. So looking forward to Well, I mean, but the thing is, I think you have something that you can transition to quite easily. It's not like there's no skill. I mean, I'm like, I
will be busy.
You will be busy with this writing. And so I'm just, do your students get to vicariously live through your journey of making and creating? Do they know about the book?
So yeah, it's a really tricky situation, of course. I mean, you've read some of the book.
Yes, I do realize that it's not.
Right.
Yeah, it is definitely for mature audiences who recognize, it's life.
Right.
Not everything is. I always wondered about that. I always hear like someone.
We may have to pause there. I'm sorry.
I don't mind that. That's pretty funny.
Okay, great. Okay.
It just tells us time is passing.
That's right. Like, speaking of time going.
It's the whole thing. But there was somebody I was in a conversation with a dance that said there's a difference between family content and family friendly content.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it says we're not going to pull punches.
Right.
But if you are recognizing that this is what happens to teens. This is what happens to young adults. This is living. This is life, which is what I just took it as. Like, honestly, it's just a slice of American life, Northeastern American life, that easily could have been translated into vignettes in a film or vignettes in a play, because the language is so specific, it's so vivid that it just triggers vivid imagery. Right off the bat, like I was ready to make a movie out of it. So I'm like, how do we turn this into a movie? I'm like,
Well, if anybody could do it, you could make it happen.
I don't know if I could do it, but I know there's some people who could. I could at least be a producer. but
Right.
I mean, it's so I get it. So, but do they kind of sneak? Have your kids snuck in?
So I've heard them, and I've walked around to the other side of their laptop, and they're on my website, and I'm like, okay, you guys, stop stalking, right? So I know they know. I know they know it's out there. I don't want to be in a position where I am, I don't. It's a slippery slope of self-promotion. So I never want to, to be accused of self-promoting to a captive audience. And as you said, it's it's upper level content, and the time will come. I have former students who are incredibly supportive. They are my champions. I've learned as much from them. If many of the students I still stay in contact with, I've learned as much from them as they kind of go through their lives, and they've been incredibly supportive and just cheerleaders in the way that I was for them. It's coming back to me, which is lovely.
As a former educator in at the Dayton Public School System, and I was telling someone today, I got teary-eyed talking about a former student who she just blossomed, and she was meant to be a dance artist, just like, and not just a performer, but just like her whole life is centered around this world, and she's excelling at it, and people recognize it, and she just goes, Mr. Rodney, thank you for seeing things in me I didn't see in myself. Isn't that the best feeling in the world?
Ultimate compliment. Yeah. I mean, for her to come across you talking about those tumblers, right? They clicked into place at the exact moment, and what validation for you, and to keep you going, right? And inspiring others. Yeah. And it's so wonderful.
Because it's hard. I don't think people fully understand how hard it is to teach. I think people have people pay a lot of lip service. Right. Like, y'all don't know. Right. I want to say, you don't know. You clearly have not dealt with this, because it is, especially in this day and age, even in a school district like Tip City, it doesn't matter the school district. It is the challenge of modern life, which I think you address, because I hope that's inspiring these kids to look at their language honestly, which I think your work does. It makes us look at language and ideas and thoughts honestly. And so I'm hoping you're kind of are you supposed to be sneaking that into your kids? I know.
Well, maybe when I retire, I will.
When you retire, you're going to be free. So
that's right.
I mean, I remember, because you're one of the few people you sent me a copy of the book, and I have it. I'm flashing at people up on the screen, and I love it. You said, I hope to see you at my book launch at the Contemporary. And I went, and I want you to talk about that, because that shocked the hell out of me. I'm going to use that language. How many people came out?
I think we had over 70 people in the gallery who attended, and it was absolutely the warmest, most intimate crowd. I could feel the energy coming back to me. I felt so comfortable. And it was an audience who I felt that they were willing to go on any journey with me that night. And I'm so grateful for those who came, because that was the launch. And when we talk about a launch, right, it's the literal movement forward, right? So what a wonderful way to set me out there with a new book. It was an incredible evening. And when I think about it, I'm still floating. It was just wonderful.
It was because it was a few weeks ago. I mean, I was going to ask you, are you still floating off of that warmth. The thing is, they were warm, but they really were hungry. They were
Yes.
hungry for presentation of ideas, and I think I get, there was a familiar audience, but there were people who were familiar. Like, my partner wasn't familiar.
Okay.
He was like, "We know you. We always enjoy our conversation with you and Carrie, and we're out in public. We're all, we're like, oh, they're awesome, but never this sort of like, oh, this was beyond." So it was an awe to kind of hear the words spoken out loud, and I just felt like, because I always talk about, why do people fall asleep on this parts of the country as far as creative fodder? I just feel like it felt so authentic. Like I didn't feel. I really hate most movies that try to depict other parts of the country other than New York and Los Angeles. I'm like, you clearly are not from here.
Right. You don't get it. You don't get it. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a depth to these regions, especially Lake Erie and even Ohio, Ohio is. Do you feel like this? Like, it feels like, do you feel like Ohio is like this kind of has this sort of weird way of being the catalyst for this Tumblr? Because it's weird.
Yeah. So here's what's great about the audience at that launch. It's like a microcosm of what you're talking about in Ohio. There were poets, of course, colleagues, but there were also visual artists.
Dancers.
There were also dancers. There were movie producers.
Yeah, there were filmmakers there.
Right? There were teachers, and Sharon with the DLPP was there, and then people who had never been to a poetry reading before
ever
in their lives. Right.
In their lives. Yeah.
Right. But they're coming out on a very cold night.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're invested in the community, in art, in downtown. And so this place is ripe for that. And, I just live on collaboration, like the synergy of working with anybody, scientists. Like I have so much to learn from anybody. And I feel like here in the Dayton region and Midwest, generally, people are so open to, what are you working on and how can I help make that happen for you? And, if you've got an idea, someone's going to support it. And that's what I love about being here. And I think you're right. I think that's part of the Tumblr effect. Like that's another part that clicked into place.
Geography.
The geography of the community, especially. The community.
Yeah. It was just such it just kind of highlighted for me that and a lot of these conversations I'm having, which I'm very lucky to have because I feel very fortunate that I get to have these conversations, is that everybody is kind of clicked in and ready to just share, that we all share the common thread. Doesn't matter if it's music, it doesn't matter if it's dance, doesn't theater, produce, whatever, that we're all into storytelling. Mm-hmm. Because I think that the storytelling, and I think the authenticity of your storytelling and everyone's that I've interviewed has resonated enough to start a ripple effect to create more story and authentic storytelling. Mm-hmm. And I think you like your event was like a catalyst for people to kind of go, oh, like we could go to an art gallery,
right,
and hear poetry. Like, right. Yeah. Why not? Why is it not happening more?
Right.
Like, and we're ready. I think the audience is, I think I think we're ready. And I think we have not given ourselves the space to do so.
Mm-hmm. I really applaud the Co for opening up that space for, they're doing a number of things that's cross-pollination. And I think that's what keeps, the community vibrant, and there doesn't have to be these silos of creativity. And there definitely can be, that cross-pollination of ideas. And so I was very grateful when they were willing to host the launch. Yeah,
that's it's getting to be it's a special time, and especially in this day and age, because we are where storytelling is being curtailed.
Yes.
We know
Yes.
that we don't always talk about it. I try to coach it in a language that doesn't offend, because I don't want it's like, but it's very real. And I always say that the artists are the canaries in the cage, telling you danger, 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 that you're in danger of losing something.
That's right.
And so, what would you say to someone in this day and age who maybe hasn't kind of thought that they could get in and engage with storytelling, especially storytelling within poetry, who maybe never thought that they could jump into this realm? Because I said the water's fine. Jump
Right.
in.
Come on in, right? So I think the biggest thing is that you have to, the advice I would give is like, you can take a risk, right? You can, nobody is going to judge you. And I think it's so hard to, in this day and age, when with social media and immediate response, right? We have our internal critic that we used to have to deal with. And now we have so much noise of external critics that I think what art can give you is a space where you don't have to worry about what somebody else thinks. You just get to create without judgment, just to see maybe what you think or what you want to express, or just to get away from the noise. So if I could give them a motivation, it is that we need the arts, and each person needs some way to be creative and take risks without judgment. And I think that's what art gives us, that ability to leave behind our critics, internal and external, and express ourselves in ways we may not have even known we thought of.
That is such great advice. I mean, because that's why I think that's why we get along so well, because we share a similar sort of ethos. I mean, it's so easy for the internal critic to derail us. It's bad enough, but to have this sort of, I don't know, these external, I love how you described external noise. It's such noise that doesn't really kind of, it just gets in the way.
Yes.
In many instances. And I just don't know. I just love the fact that we have chimes. We're keeping it in, baby. This was one of those things, Amy. I love it. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. It was like, I don't believe in, there's no such thing as perfection. So I let go of that a long time ago. And but I think there's something that what you're saying is needs to be heard. I think it can't be said enough. And so one of the things we've been doing all season is talking, because when you talk about internal, external critics, I kind of equate it to the notion of that people feel like they're imposters in their own story. And it's like, you can't be an imposter. You're not faking this. This is life.
Right. It's your story to tell. It's your story to tell. And nobody's going to tell it. And a lot of people say, well, that story's been done before, but not in your voice, right? Not with your perspective. And so I would say, add your voice to the conversation. You'll be so mad at yourself if you read your own idea on the page that somebody else wrote, and you could have added that. I think of that. If I have an idea, how mad would I be if I read it by somebody else? Oh, right?
I never thought about that way, from that perspective.
So yeah, jump in and lend your voice. Don't worry if it's been done, because it hasn't been done by you. Yeah. Oh
my God. No. That's so true. So now that you're in it, like, you have your process. Are you because I'm kind of curious about creativity and your process. do you just need to block out as much time once the school year's done, even though I know that's going to eventually be done? Do you just kind of take off and go someplace and write, or how do you parse out your day to get, because that's a lot. That's a lot pent up over the school year. It
Right.
needs to come out.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And
How do you manage your day?
and there are different compartments of the creative work, right? So so I spend my flow time where I'm just, if I've got an idea, I'm just writing, almost stream of consciousness type writing. And
Wow.
then I tend to like go back through, this is all by hand, and then I go back through and highlight, and then I'll craft it once it gets on the computer. But so that's the specific process. But in terms of blocking out time, there are days where I'm just writing. And then, as you know, there's the business of creativity too, right?
Yes, there is.
Yes,
Thank
there
you.
is.
Please sing that from the rooftops, because I don't think
my
people understand.
goodness.
The business part is
Right.
drives me nuts.
As it does most of us, right? Because that's not what we are in this for. But it needs to be done. And so, I'll block out a day where I'm answering emails, or working on workshop material, or getting readings going, or checking on book sales. So that's a different hat completely. And you need to be in a different headspace. So, I put aside a day, specific day, like today is just the business of writing. And then certain days are just the flow of writing. And then certain days I want to hang out with, other creatives and drum up some projects. And, you can't sit in your room by yourself all the time. You need the energy of others. And so those are my favorite days, when I get to, go to a coffee shop, or go to a friend's studio, or see what project they're, Gretchen's working on. We're going to be doing some collaborating here soon. So that feeds me. And then I go back to, as Virginia Woolf would say, a room of my own, and sit down and write again. So.
Wow. Do you have a dedicated room in your house?
I do. Well, you've met my wife, so
Right.
we can't share a space. We are Felix and Oscar. I'll let you guess who's who. So
I know. I totally get it.
Right. So I do. I have my own office, and it is littered with ephemera and art pieces, and just scraps of everything all over. Yeah.
Every artist I know has that. That's their room.
That's
That is
right.
you can't. I mean, you have to step over things in my studio.
Yes.
I think this is the reason why I had to move it into another building away from our house, because he was like, "This needs to go."
Right. So yes, I do have my own space.
Because it's all inspiration. It's it's all. I have a hard time telling them it's all inspiration. It's
Mhm.
all things that kind of go. I don't know where or when it's going to hit, but it's
That's
there.
right.
And it
That's
speaks.
right.
And so, do you let the objects around you kind of guide every now and then? You're like, there's a story behind the object, or
Yeah.
there's something that's connected to a place or a person, and that then it may not strike at the moment you receive the object, but
Mhm.
I literally found some paper rolled up from 2007 in my basement, silver paper, and I finally made work out of it.
Yes, that's so great. And then and then you're validated for keeping it. You're like,
Right. I said,
aha.
see, hoarding was good.
That's right.
Hoarding's good.
That's right. Just hang with me, Rodney. I'm an enabler for that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely. It will find its time, and it just is not yet. But well, when you touch something or you see something, it's like, little fireflies in your mind, and you're thinking, this is something, and it might not be, I'm not ready for it yet, but I'm going to keep it handy. Yeah.
Because you never know.
Never know.
And it'll happen, and it's just like, there it is. And so,
Yes.
which I love. I always love, and we don't spend enough time together talking about creative process. So I need to be on your list of people that comes by the studio and just checks on.
That's
And you
great.
can and just to kind of step into that world,
Yes.
because the work is extraordinary.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for that. That means a lot.
Well, because if I don't like something, I just go, that's nice.
Right, right.
I move on. It's like,
Sure, that's right.
Don't ask for more. Don't ask for more. How do I get out of the room fast enough? No, but I'm just intrigued and in awe. And we talked about it, and I know Carrie told me nothing until summer.
Right, that's right.
No collaborations until summer, but we will collaborate.
Right. I love that.
It's coming. I really want you to meet these two choreographers who I think you will hit it off with, Megan Flynn and Teresa. I think that they are just two phenomenally gifted people that speak your language.
Wonderful.
Terrific.
Wonderful. I look forward to that energy. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, we cook up.
Inspiring. Yes.
It's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. So
yes.
Thank you for taking time out your afternoon with me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate everyone you introduce us to through Inspired By, and I'm just grateful that I got to be a part of it.
Yes, because people need to know you. Yes.